So today we've got a bunch of important Destiny 2 and Bungie topics to round up. A lot has been going down as of late and some pretty major developments. We're going to talk about what's going on with Final Shape and the rumors of a 6th Darkness subclass. There's some additional secret content that Bungie's got planned, as well as the discussion of Destiny 3 and a bunch more. So a lot to cover in this one. Firstly, you've probably already seen by now that Bungie officially confirmed the Final Shape delay and laid out what they plan to do until then. And there's been a lot of discussion and kind of mixed reactions because they were quite cryptic. But there are also some interesting details if you read between the lines that kind of match up with some of the rumors that have been going around as well recently. But they talked about some significant additions to Final Shape and all new gameplay. So people are trying to figure out what that means, and there are some strong theories, but it's interesting because instead of just stretching out the season of the Wish until June, they're doing something a bit different to what we've usually seen. And pretty much all the season's content is going to end in February when Final Shape would have come out. And then after some events and more filler type content to bridge the gap, they're going to do Into the Light, which is the really interesting part. This appears to be some sort of prelude to Final Shape, and this is going to lead into the content. And a lot of people think this is basically Bungie giving some parts of Final Shape just early into the game, because this is going to, as they said, prepare players for their journey into the Traveler. So it's going to be related and lead directly into the content and not be some kind of spin-off. Now, one of the going theories is that this might be Bungie introducing those light subclasses early into the game so you can play around with them, and instead in Final Shape they're going to actually introduce the 6th Darkness subclass. Now, there is a lot to this, and it has been something people have talked about for quite a while and kind of speculated about. We know Bungie has plans to make Final Shape one of the best expansions ever, like even better than Witch Queen and Forsaken, which is a very, very tall ask, but a lot of people are starting to think that maybe the 6th subclass or 3rd Darkness element could be on the table. There was actually a leak from apparently a laid-off Bungie employee. Now, this is not a reliable journalist, so take it with a grain of salt. But they were saying how Bungie are working on the 6th Red subclass planned for one of the 3 episodes. Apparently they don't have a specific date, basically as soon as it's ready, as soon as they can, but it wasn't ready in time for Final Shape. But now that it's been delayed, they could be trying to add it into Final Shape. It did always seem really strange to finish Destiny with only 5 subclasses. It just seemed kind of unfinished and unsymmetrical to not have 3 of each, but I would have imagined Bungie were saving it for when things slowed down. I mean, a subclass is like an ace in the sleeve. It's that thing you can just bring at any time. It's going to bring a huge amount of interest. It's one of the best things you can probably add to Destiny as far as new replay value. I'm not going to get into all the other stuff covered in the leak, but it did seem quite plausible in my opinion. It didn't seem too far-fetched. But even regardless of that, I would imagine Bungie is working on a subclass for some point in the future of Destiny. I can't imagine they're just going to leave on 5 subclasses. I mean, I wasn't initially that on board, but only when I saw Bungie did announce that Final Shape is going to have all new gameplay and significant content additions. The main thing that does come to mind is a 6th subclass, and especially seeing as this new intro kind of prelude to the Final Shape is called Into the Light, it does make me think they've taken some parts of Final Shape, which would be the new supers, and kind of given that to us early. But whatever it is, Bungie have said it's going to be an even bigger and bolder version of Final Shape, so expect it to be a little bit different to what was announced. There was also a really interesting detail that I feel like got glossed over in Bungie's Path Forward post, but they acknowledged the concern about Lightfall and the recent seasons, but also the responses to the reveal of Final Shape, which I found quite odd. I didn't really notice much concern or backlash about the Final Shape reveal. It didn't seem like people were disappointed. Like, sure, it didn't blow people away, but they're talking as if the reveal wasn't good enough and people hated it, which I don't really see. It seemed like a pretty decent reveal, quite on par with what I expected, but it implies that maybe they want to do it over and re-reveal it with some more stuff, something bigger and better. I mean, the only disappointment I can think of would have been the lack of the 6th subclass, but this line always kind of stuck out as a bit weird to me, as if they aren't done revealing it, so we'll see what they mean by that. But do let me know, what do you think this major content is that's going to change the gameplay and is something significant and bold for Final Shape? Overall, I'd say the response was pretty positive, mainly to Joe Blackburn, who has become kind of a community favorite. Even though he is a game director and developer, he does a very good job speaking to the camera and communicating honestly, which does go a long way and doesn't come across as just kind of PR speak. You can tell he actually cares about the game. There are of course some saying that it isn't enough and kind of concerned about this 6-month season, and also a lot wondering why it took Bungie this long to even confirm the delay. We all know this quite a while ago from the Bloomberg article about the layoffs. I think honestly they wanted to wait for the negativity to die down a bit. It makes a lot of sense. They would have wanted to kind of wait to have some positive news to share and not just come out to a very angry community with the bad news of a delay. That was probably the worst PR situation in Bungie history, and it would have made things a lot worse. So I would bet they definitely wanted to figure out what they can announce to bridge the gap and wait until Season of the Wish and there's at least some kind of new content and there's a positive. And also, if they did announce it, it would also confirm everything else that came out in that article. Realistically, they only want to confirm what they absolutely have to, but there was a lot of damning stuff in there about the company. Their ability to generate revenue is in question, their ability to retain players, the quality of final shape, and the general interest in the future of Destiny with episodes. So all things that were very concerning for shareholders, and the layoffs was just the tip of the iceberg. That was just a result of everything else happening wrong inside the studio for the past couple months since Lightfall. So they only acknowledged that because they kind of had to. Bungie employees were tweeting about it, but of course Bungie is still not out of the clear. They've got a lot of work to do to rebuild the players' trust and mainly confidence in the future of Destiny. Now, the next topic that's come back into the limelight recently is what many are saying is the one thing that could fix all these problems for Bungie and Sony and the player base, and that is of course Destiny 3, a fresh start. This does always pop back up whenever Destiny 2 is in trouble over the years, and I've always said it's probably never going to happen, but as of recently, I do think I'm on board in that we've reached a point where it's going to need to happen. Obviously not anytime soon, it's going to take a long time, but Bungie might have no choice. As everyone is aware, after Final Shape, there's going to be a huge drop-off. Naturally, I've seen many of you in the comments saying you're going to see Destiny through to its natural conclusion and then probably move on and check out some other games. But even if Final Shape is the best DLC ever, and I do think it is going to be very good. I think Bungie is going to make sure it is very good. When it does inevitably slow down, whether it's episode 3 or 4, 5, 6, when the Eververse money slows down, which apparently is already happening, Destiny 3 is the only thing that's going to refresh the whole series and bring old players back and have new players that want to check it out. But as we know, Destiny 2 with its age, it has trouble appealing to new players. This game has been going for like 6 years now. It's very fatigued and it's kind of evident. And I think it all depends, honestly, on Marathon success. That's planned for 2025. But after that, as far as Destiny, it's looking like it's going to need a huge injection, a brand new, fresh start, and a new entry to the franchise, which would be the third sequel. Now, of course, story-wise, it's going to need an entirely new concept, a whole new enemy. The whole Guardians, Traveler, Light and Dark, that's pretty much going to be done. All the enemies are dead or allied at this point, so there's no villains, there's no main threats out there. This would be the fresh start the game needs more than ever, because players are leaving regardless, and trying to explain Destiny 2 to someone right now is kind of a headache. It's a very complicated and strange game that's been through a lot, so you have to imagine even Bungie knows Destiny 3 is the only real way forward for Destiny to survive, and of course we know Bungie's survival is heavily dependent on Destiny, the big moneymaker. Obviously, it's easy to just say, yeah, make a Destiny 3 or fix all the problems, but obviously it's not that simple. Bungie will have to go dark for many, many years, maybe 3, 4, maybe 5. They want the game to be actually very good, how it should be, and not rushed, but they know it's going to be a huge undertaking, which is obviously why they don't want to do it. And of course, they're going to throw away a lot of the progress and just updates and quality of life fixes they've made in Destiny 2. Now, despite all the doom and gloom, I do genuinely think the Final Shape is going to be a very, very good expansion. I'd be curious to know what you guys think and how much confidence you actually have in it, but we are kind of overdue one of those really good expansions. All the best ones in Destiny history have always been after a period of turmoil the year before. Taken King came out after the rocky Destiny 1 launch and they were forced to turn things around. Forsaken came after the Destiny 2's even rockier first year, and again the same thing. And Witch Queen came after the Activision split, the Shadowkeep Beyond Light era where they decided not to do Destiny 3 and had to restructure the whole game and studio. So again, we've just come off Lightfall, which was that kind of filler expansion and obviously had a lot of issues and wasn't received too well. If you add this recent new pressure, I might sound hopelessly optimistic, but historically, every time Bungie's had their backs against a wall and things were bad, they always come out with the Taken King or Forsaken level expansions. So I don't think now is any different. Things always look uncertain right now in the moment, but they have always worked very well in these situations. There has also been a lot of talk about Destiny's player count recently, which does always draw a lot of debates. I mean, October and November did see record lows, as you can see. Destiny Bulletin also posted that for October, PlayStation in the US was down from the 14th most played game down to the 20th, and on Steam it went from the 7th most played game down to the 12th. In some sense, it is very much expected. The third season of the year is always the lowest, with the fourth season of The Wish is going to be a bit higher, because normally the story gets quite good as it leads into the big expansion. Of course, this is going to be the longest season in Destiny's history at nearly 7 months. With all the news that came out, there was an additional drop-off on top of that. As we know, Bungie have even confirmed player interest has been low since Lightfall. Even though it sold well, there was a big drop-off, which led to all the turmoil, of course, we heard about in the layoffs. But as always, Destiny is in quite a weird spot. I know a lot of the biggest news hasn't been too positive recently. I do try and stay quite objective and rational. I don't want to come across too doom and gloom or too hopelessly optimistic. I do think things are going to look up and get a bit more positive. I think we're kind of through most of the bad news. Once we get a good season, some more announcements, and Bungie talk about final shape and announce maybe some good stuff, I think things are going to get a bit better. Of course, I'll keep you guys updated with all the major news and updates, as the next few months are definitely going to be very interesting. You can click here to watch my latest podcast episode. There's a ton more Destiny talk, and there's going to be more coming out soon as well. Don't forget to like the video before you go if you enjoyed it. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video and especially making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next one.